It's the 1800s, and a group of people from the Yap Islands in Micronesia are crossing a stretch of Pacific Ocean between a limestone quarry and their homeland. A storm erupts, and despite the value of their cargo, they cut the raft carrying their stone loose to save themselves. Now it's closer to the present, in prison, in America. A guard raids the belongings of one of his prisoners and confiscates a stockpile of bags of old, unopened mackerel. It probably smelled. According to the Cambridge Economic History of Europe, there are more references to stinking mackerel in the English literature than to any other fish. He leaves a bucket stuffed with these spoiled packets out in the open. What are we even talking about here? The thing about those two stories that's fascinating has to do with money. Remember, money is just technology, but it's so present in our lives that it's easy to forget, sort of like a fish having a hard time understanding that it's wet. It was invented by humans once we started developing agriculture and specialized skills in order to solve a very obvious problem. If you have a cow and you need some grain, and you live in a society that hasn't invented money, then hopefully you have a neighbor who has some grain and needs a cow. You can trade those things and everyone is happy. But what if, as is almost always the case, those needs and wants don't line up? Then you need money. You pay me money for the thing I have, then I can use that money to pay someone else for the thing I want. The mostly agreed upon requirements for something to be money are that it be a medium of exchange, a unit of account, and a store of value. Basically, it can avoid the need for bartering, it can be used to price things, and it will reliably maintain its ability to purchase things. The funny thing about that is that it means money can be nearly anything. An example of this is how most American prisons used to run on cigarettes. Inmates are not allowed to possess actual dollars, but they are allowed to make purchases at the prison commissary, and one thing that was highly sought after was cigarettes. If you wanted to buy some snacks on the weekend while the commissary was closed, trade some cigarettes. Need a prison tattoo? Same deal. It didn't matter if the person you were transacting with was a smoker or not. You weren't trading, you were purchasing those snacks, and the cigarettes were money. In 2004, though, US federal prisons banned cigarettes. Of course, that wasn't the end of money, there just needed to be a new money. And the something that many prisoners settled on was mackerel. They cost about $1, so there was a reference for about what other things should cost when priced in mackerel. Plus, there was a steady but controlled supply of them that were entering the prison. The prison wholesalers probably couldn't believe their luck. One vendor told the Wall Street Journal, "Mackerel is hot in prisons in the US, but not so much anywhere else. It never has done very well at all, regardless of the retailer, but it's very popular in the prisons." They did, however, have something of an issue fulfilling the store of value part of the definition of money. The packs had expiration dates. Not a big deal, though. Eating Macs, which are fresh packs of mackerel, were circulated at full price, while Money Macs, packs past their expiration date, were only worth about 75% as much. Now, about that bucket. Do you see the issue? The inmate who was in the prison described the event as flooding the market with Money Macs and introducing hyperinflation into the economy. Back to the perilous raft ride now. The men making the journey from the quarry back to Yap were delivering what is known as a rise stone. Basically, a piece of limestone varying in size from around a few inches to more than 10 feet, carved into discs with holes in the middle. These are money too. The small version might seem familiar because you can think of them like coins, but what about the big ones? What good is it to have coins that are thousands of pounds? That's definitely too big to fit in someone's pocket or to even be pushed around in some sort of wheelbarrow. Except, you don't walk around with your entire savings account in your pocket, you just go about your day knowing that that information is stored somewhere. In the case of the people of Yap, the storage wasn't in a bank, but in oral history. Everyone on the island knew who owned which stone and who before them. Ownership by a certain warrior or prestigious person might even enhance the value of a particular piece. The beauty of the system is that it made it nearly impossible to steal. You couldn't really physically move the stone, and if you did, where were you going to hide it anyways? But also, you couldn't just go around claiming one of the large stones as your own when it wasn't. Since everyone knew, you wouldn't just have to convince one person, you would have to convince every person. There may not have been a written ledger of ownership anywhere, but the people of Yap actually had something better. They had begun operating on a distributed ledger. And maybe that sounds familiar. It's 2008, and someone publishes a paper entitled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. It employs a technology called blockchain, which is a specific type of distributed ledger. People say it doesn't have any intrinsic value, but neither does a money Mac. People say it's just a line of code. They don't seem to like how intangible it is. The rye stone that sank into the ocean was large and masterfully crafted. All the sailors attested to this. It was a tragedy that it was lost, but the people of Yap were deprived of its beauty and no more. Ownership of the stone was still a sign. It might have been on the bottom of the ocean, or it might as well have been on the moon. Money is a technology, but it's one whose definition relies on the will of the people. Thanks for watching.